Tape, the state of the markets according to one of the world's top investors, BlackRock's Rieder. He's chief investment officer of fixed income and head of the global allocation team at BlackRock. He is with me once again. Welcome back.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for having me.
What a great time to have you, given what's been happening in the bond market, which at the long end feels like it's been screaming a little bit. What do you make of where yields were and what the Treasury did today?
Listen, I mean, there's been the back end of the yield curves felt a bit untethered recently. I mean, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you had some elevated inflation. You know, there was some discussion about could Chairworships have done more. Listen, I think really what's pushed rates higher is you have an incredible amount of financing that's coming. And not only financing.
The AI paper.
The AI paper that is just going to keep coming.
Okay.
And that's pressured supply into the market. I think that is the big thing. Listen, what the Secretary did today, you know, I think after doing the intervention on the yen, it's pretty clear they have a Secretary of Treasury that's keeping an eye on long-end interest rates. I think markets have to pay attention to that. Is it a huge move? It's not a huge move. The yen intervention wasn't a huge move.
Yeah.
But clearly there is a disposition there about, gosh, we have our eye on these rates and don't want them to get out of control.
There's a difference between a huge move and a huge statement.
100%.
This was the latter.
100%. And, you know, there's optics. Markets look at optics. They look at, we could debate, did you just cap a level on the long end of the curve? I'm not sure that that's right. But I think there's more firepower at Treasury. I quite frankly think there's more firepower in terms of how you manage the yield curve sitting at the Federal Reserve. I think that is going to Jackson Hole. That's going to be interesting to see how they address that. But listen, I think the Secretary is investigating a lot of things and saying, you know, how do I keep rate at a reasonable level given all the supply that's got to come?
Well, I mean, you got the election coming up too, and the midterms. That has to be somewhere in the calculus, no matter how much they want to talk about that. So, how much difference will this move actually make if it's more a statement than a big move? And for how long will it make any bit of difference at the long end? So
when you take the actual real duration impact, it's not that big relative to the amount of supply that's coming. But I think what it puts in people's minds, I saw the yen intervention, I saw this. It does put a cap, and when people, there's been a big trade. I mean, a lot of people have curve steepeners on. A lot of people have short the back end on. A lot of people have, by the way, long equities, short long bonds. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a statement there like, be careful in how large you put that trade on. And I think you saw today a bit of scramble. Gosh, I got to manage some of that risk. And I think that, it's important. Markets move on sentiment. They move on like trying to interpret where we're going. And I think the statement was significant.
When you talked about, maybe some of the reasons why we've backed up at the long end, you said, I think your words were, could Chairworships have done more? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you're alluding to, in his communication strategy, his guidance, if you will. Yeah. Is there a price to pay in the bond market for the lack thereof of communication? Is that in part at play here,
Scott,
too?
You know what? I really don't. Depends on how you handle that. There's been a lot of stories about disastrous performance. I actually don't agree with that at all. I actually think he laid out a pragmatic, we've got task forces to look at these things. There are some very complex issues. Are we restrictive on rate? We're clearly restrictive on housing. We're not restrictive. We're not going to hamper AI CapEx spend. Inflation is complex. What's driving inflation today? Services driving inflation. We don't have any goods inflation to speak about. These are all complex issues that he's going to take some time. He's going to take a look at it. So I don't think there is one thing that I think the chair needs to do over the coming weeks, and maybe Jackson Hole, maybe at the next FOMC meeting. What are the metrics you're looking at? What is your reaction function going to be? If you saw this sort of data, and by the way, it doesn't have to just be core PCE. Mm-hmm. I actually think it's incredibly healthy. We're getting away from just one singular number, which can be skewed like it's been recently, and look at the broad picture of inflation, but give us some data in terms of what are the metrics you're going to look at, and then the markets can, which I think is the right thing, the markets could price to that.
Okay, so you're saying he does need to do a little bit more than he's given you and other market participants and the markets in general to this point.
That doesn't mean we need more forward guidance. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean the dot plot is an effective mechanism. In fact, you look at over time, a lot of the communication we've gotten over the last few years hasn't been effective or hasn't been right in terms of where the world is going. The dot plot, I quite frankly don't find terribly useful, but the markets tend to move to it, even though they move around in terms of what they're going to do. So this idea we need more forward guidance, I'm not a real believer in that. I just think we need to know the reaction function. I just think we need to know, what are you looking at? What is important to you today? Is it more inflation? Is it more employment? Are you looking at, by the way, there's a series of indicators in employment. Are you looking at demand, supply? Are you looking at a whole series of different indicators? To get some clarity on that, then markets can do their job in interpreting it and putting a price on that.
See, all